So let me ask you a question. Do you know what good looks like in your life, in your business? So what do I mean by that? Let's think about sport. The distinction in sport is that we know exactly what good looks like. So for example, the metric of goals. More goals means you win the game. In rugby, more points. In golf, fewer shots. In cricket, it's more runs. So we know exactly what good looks like. We know the metric we need to meet in order for us to win the game or win the contest. But in business or life, the distinction isn't there. We don't exactly know what we're aiming for, or the perception is that we don't. So that's why we have vision statements and goals and stuff, which is great. So as an individual, you might be able to answer the question quite easily. Yeah, I know what good looks like. Good looks like X number of money. Good looks like this kind of relationship. Good looks like this house. Good looks like these, the nice car, whatever it is. A lot of material things out there which are outside of control. Good could also look like, feeling happy, being healthy, having loved ones around you, whatever it may be. So as an individual, I'm sure you could answer that, and it's quite easy to answer. And then it's just a question of asking yourself, in order to know what good looks like, are you taking the action? So your good as far as health concerned is that might mean you have to take certain actions to get to that point, going to the gym, eating certain foods, etc. But where this falls down is when you're working part as a team, when you're running a business, or when you're part of a bigger project where there's more than one individual available. Because often when I work with teams and organizations, is the one thing that we have ambiguity or disagreement or even a misalignment on is knowing what good looks like. Meaning, do we all agree? Meaning, do we have the same blueprint of what good looks like? Now, loosely we might have, but even if there's 1% misalignment, the actions that someone takes to get there, by the time we get to the point, could be misaligned, which means it leads to missing deadlines, missing sales, losing money, disagreements, lack of communication, and all those things. So one of the things that I talk about within my work is understanding that. My background's in sports psychology, and in sport, working with athletes is easy from the context of knowing what we're aiming for. The athlete who's a 100 meters runner, we're aiming for winning first or getting the best time. Someone who's a cricketer, who's a batsman, it's about how do we maximize getting runs. So the focus and the discussion is on the game plan. The game plan in terms of preparing yourself mentally, preparing yourself physically, preparing yourself to ensure that when you're on the court and in the field of play, you are maximizing the opportunity of success. But this is the thing, is when they're on the court, are they guaranteed to succeed? No. But what you're doing is giving yourself the best chance. So in life and business, my question to you is this: are you doing everything possible to ensure to maximize the success? So there's several things that we need to look at in order to maximize that. And let me go through that list. So there's 5 things you need to focus on to ensure that you define what good looks like and you maximize success. So here's number 1. Be clear on your definition of success. So clear that everybody in the team, whoever's involved, they know what good looks like. The clarity should be such that if I'm a layperson, I don't know anything about your business or your life, that when I read it, I know exactly what you mean. I know what good looks like. So take sport, for example, is we might say we've got to get X number of points to win the league, 50 points to win the league, for example. We all know what that is. So the focus then is on the game plan. What is my role in order to get that? So you get clarity on exactly what you need to achieve, and you get clarity on each individual's roles. Number 2, you've got to align the team. So what does that mean is this: each member of the team will have different roles in order to get to good look like. What's important here is each member needs to know their role, what the actions they need to take day to day. This is the most important thing that I think we miss out, is know the role of your fellow team members in the context of achieving that goal. So the fellow team member might not be directly impacting you in terms of what you need to do. However, if you know what their role is to get the goal compared to yours, you give us some context. So you might be part of the sales team and you've got a certain revenue targets here. But if you understand the role of a marketing individual in getting that goal and the activities they take, all of a sudden gives you context with your actions. And also, let someone who's not front facing, they might be part of the operations team. If you know what they are going to do in relation to the team's goals in terms of to achieve what success is, it gives you better context. And when you have context about what other people are doing to achieve the goal that you're looking to achieve, based on your role, it makes the alignment of the team better, communication better, and also accountability. Because when you can start holding other people accountable based on the actions, you're more likely to hit that goal. Number 3 is metrics. You need to have milestones as you reach the goal. So let's assume that the goal that you set, that good looks like, is to be achieved in 3 months. Is what you need to make sure is that you have periodical measures of what we're measuring. So you know what good looks like in 3 months' time, and then start to reverse engineer. What does 2 months look like? What does 1 month look like? What does 1 week from now look like? You can't join the dots going forward, but you can join the dots going backwards. What that does is several things. Number 1, it keeps you on track. It makes sure that you are on target to hit the target you want. The second thing it does is this, is at any given moment, it's not going to be a linear increase. So sometimes it's an exponential movement to your goals. So in week 1, you can say, okay, based on what we know, based on our target, where we are in 1 week's time, are we all satisfied? Because you need to be in communication after 1 week, after the milestones, after 1 month, to make sure actually, is one party ahead of the others? Are we still on track? Making sure that you have the awareness of everybody in your team and knowing their roles. And this relates to the previous point about team alignment, because if you know your role and compare to someone else's role, when you're measuring the metrics, you've got more informed idea about actually whether the metrics mean something and whether you're on target. Point number 4, and I keep this separate, is review and adjustment. So as you're meeting those goals, as I've mentioned before, is you've got to review and adjust. Because when you start to review and adjust, you say, okay, are we ahead of the curve? Are we behind the curve? Are we on point of the curve? And when you start to review and adjust, this is where you can start to understand other teams' blockages or challenges. And this is where, irrespective of your portfolio, is those review and adjustment points give you the opportunity to give them some support, give them some insight. Because sometimes we don't have the baggage of their world, and we can come with fresh eyes. So the review and adjustment stages of each point are so important, because it allows you then to look at where you're at and whether you're ahead or behind target, and look at someone else and say, actually, how can you help, and how can they look at their goals in a different way in order for you to move towards the target that you set at the start of the project to ensure that you meet. And the last point is your daily preparation. Now, we've got we're very fortunate that we have these units of days, 7 days a week or 5 days a week, whatever you work, right? And we work in those days, and those days work in maybe morning, afternoon, and then break down in hours. So your goal might be 3 months away, which is great, but the only thing you can do is what you do now. And most people can use the unit of a day in order to maximize performance. So use that unit to say, okay, how can I prepare each day to maximize my opportunity to meet that 3 month goal? Because the 3 month goal is set. You've done that. You've set what good looks like. You've got your metrics. You're holding each other accountable. You're in communication. Your responsibility now is to make sure every day you're ready to be on the court. Again, think about the sports person. Is the elite athlete, the professional athlete, doesn't have any say of when the tournament or the game happens. You've got to be ready when the whistle goes. But in business and life, we can set our own agenda a little bit. So you can set your benchmark each day. So the final responsibility you have once the goal is set, once you set the metrics in place, once you know everybody's role in the team, and once you know that you're in communication, is how you show up each day. And the way you show up each day will have a direct impact on how others show up. Because if you make sure that your standards are there and you're delivering on your targets, you're in communication, the odds that the rest of the team members will do that is going to be much more higher. And when that occurs, you're all likely to be aligned, and you have much more chance in achieving the goal at the end. And then when you start to understand what good looks like, everything starts to happen. And then it creates momentum, because when you work on one project with that level of discipline, it's easier to work on other projects. So my question to you is this: ask your team members, do they know what good looks like? And does what they know what good looks like similar to yours? Are you on the same hymn sheet? And the odds are, if you're not, and you're not achieving certain targets, is because you have a different definition of what good looks like. But when you're aligned, things start to flow. I hope that helps.